building.
Praise God.
Peace, God.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah. I'm Lord Supreme of Law of the nation of gods and earth.
Okay.
I had knowledge since 1966 approximately.
Remember what month it was when you got knowledge?
Oh, no, I don't remember what month. Well, I see at that time, around 1966 era, the nation was still new. And the knowledge was coming out to a lot of people through other people in the nation, of course. So some gods most of the gods at that time had bits and pieces of the lessons. I would come out to the streets. Some people just knew the alphabet. Some people had the 1 to 10. Some other people had 1 to 36. Some people had the 12 Jews. But it's when we all come together collectively, based on who have what, that's how each one teach one.
Right.
So eventually we was getting the lessons down, the 1 to 10. Whoever had the best set of it, or the supreme alphabets or the supreme mathematics. Everybody was learning what they had. You only know what you got, what you get, and you roll with that until it all come together. Meaning that I didn't have a full, complete set of lessons until I met the Father. I was given a full, complete set of the lessons and all the plus lessons that was out at that time. That was Xerox at the Street Academy. The Father had told Firstborn Prince at that time, upon meeting me and him, and the God that was of me named Shabu at that time, we had requested for the lessons. The Father told Firstborn Prince to give it to us. He came back with a stack of lessons like so. That was everything. And he said, give it to this God set.
Well, let me ask you, who was it that initially sparked you to get the knowledge in '66?
Around that time, well, my brother, my physical, his name was Abiji. He had knowledge himself. When we had spoke about it, he had told me about it.
You talking about Firstborn Abiji?
No, he wasn't Firstborn Abiji. In terms of, no, he wasn't one of the Firstborn Abiji, no. However, I was told at the time that he was might have been the first one with that name, but I don't know for sure. But he was the first one I knew other than Firstborn Abiji at that, or heard of Firstborn Abiji at that time, that I hadn't met him yet. But my brothers don't even had that name for a long time. For a long, long time. I know that. Other brothers that might have had that name might have been in a different part of the city. So I didn't know until, years later I met several brothers with the name. But I know back in 1966, my brothers the only one that I knew that had that name. Okay. So that was the first time I ever heard it. Now, also at that time, most of the gods at the time, most of us had Muslim names. Like Abu, Abdul, my name was, I started off for the first, maybe the first few months, my name was Abu. Then I went to Abdul.
Abu to Abdul.
I went from Abu to Abdul, and then...
Servant of Allah.
That's right. And then I came upon the name Qasim. I always liked that name, so I chose that name. And I kept that name for 16 years, until 1980. Before then I was Qasim Abika Jamil.
Qasim Abika Jamil.
Qasim Abika Jamil was my name for 16 years, my first 16 years in the nation. And then in 1980 I changed it to Lord Supreme of Law because of a greater understanding that I had at that time, and based on growth and development and aspects of how I see myself and life. And at the time I was away in the penitentiary, and the guards that was, we had our cipher there, and of course great knowledge, wisdom, and understanding came out of that, and a lot of growth for all of us, and for me as well. Okay. So, like I'm saying, back in the 60s, like when I first got to the nation, the streets was, Harlem was moving fast. We was growing up, things was in change. It was a lot of...
You said you were about 16 about this time?
Yes, I was about 15, 16 years old at this time. It was a conscious period because people like nationalist leaders. People like Malcolm, people like we had the Mau Maus, we had the Nation of Islam. A lot of different organizations was coming up that had black awareness. Period. Everybody was, well, those who was interested, I would say, people of conscience was gravitating toward this in terms of getting knowledge of themselves in way, shape, form, and fashion. Because those who weren't was, obviously those who had no knowledge were still acting like savages. People don't have knowledge, so do crazy things in the street as we see.
Right.
And it can happen to anybody if you walk if you walk in that lane, you walk down that street, you carry that lifestyle, yeah, it's gonna happen to you too. Yeah, you're gonna drink and become a drunk. Yeah, you might use drugs and become an addict. This or that. These are trials and tribulations that we go through in our community as an individual. So therefore, when light comes to you in that darkness world and you grab onto it, some type of black consciousness and knowledge of yourself is going to possibly trigger you to want to learn more. And as you learn more, you grow more. And as you grow more, you're going to continuously learn. So that's how I took the lessons. And other teachers, matter of fact, I take everything like that. If I'm interested in something, I check it out, look into it.
So you took a great interest in this knowledge.
I took a great interest in this knowledge and knowledge period that concerned the upliftment of black people in general. Now, I was a young man at the time. I remember I was like 12, 13. They had the Harlem riot. I'm out there participating in the riot.
This is a little bit before you got to knowledge.
This is just before I got the knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, because some brothers had jumped, some had jumped off on 125th Street with some brothers, and they caused a riot. And I'm being a young kid coming up. I tell you, being in the riot was the first time I seen that many black people. It was like, wow, I didn't know that many black people in Harlem. I never seen that many black people. Then the police came, was chasing, shooting, running, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of chaos that night. Of course, I got in trouble for being out late at night in the morning, till the wee hours in the morning with my family and stuff. But that was just an experience along the way of me getting knowledge of self. Because I'm coming now more aware of seeing realities of life as opposed to black and white, what I saw on black and white TV.
This is before color TV.
You better know, so long before color TV. Even long before we thought we was looking at color that wasn't color. Yes. So I'm saying that, but getting back to the point now, see, firstborn black Messiah, who the father taught the first one, he lived in the building next to me, his family. They lived in 67 East 128th Street. I lived in 71. So, although Messiah was several years older than me, we never hung out or anything because of our age difference.
He's several years older. Right?
Yes. Okay. So, at that time it was strict that, you stayed more or less hung out with your age group. So, we never hung out, but, we always spoke. And when I heard that he was somebody that had knowledge and knew things, I know I would see him come and go. We just had papers with him coming across. He was like...
So you know him as Matthew before he became Kareem.
I knew him... I knew him as Kareem, I believe. I think I did know him as Kareem. Or either firstborn, I'm not sure. I didn't know him as Matthew. But now that you mentioned it, I think I did refer, maybe his sister might have called him that one day, or somebody's friend might have mentioned that, called him that. Now, I might have been on the stoop at that time and heard it, but it didn't register nothing. Because back then, a lot of people, like they had righteous names and or other righteous names, African names, etc., etc. The community at large took it as like nicknames. So a lot of times when you would hear somebody call somebody something, it didn't really register in terms of knowledge and elevation. Because oftentimes, because at that time, I'm talking about, if you call somebody black, those was almost like fighting words to a lot of people. See, so that's the level and degree of lack of knowledge and ignorance that we all lived at that time. until knowledge came upon us. And so after I started getting knowledge, I want to tell you, I was living in the Bronx then. Now,
You was originally from Boston.
I'm from Mecca, 128th Street, but I'm from a very big family. See, my father lived in the Bronx. When I say I'm from a big family, I'm like fifth generation. I was raised by my great grandparents, who was born in the 18 such and such. I have the information right here. You see, I was born in the house where my parents or grandparents were slaves. You see, and so I grew up very strict household. Although I was running down the street and I would look forward to getting a beating every day too. You see, I don't know if you ever heard of the book "Man Child in the Promised Land" by Floyd Brown.
Yes.
Well, he used to come in the community because I used to hang out and work at the church.
Author of this book.
Huh?
The author of this book will come in the community.
No, he himself, Floyd Brown. Because he's from 140-something, 142nd, 143rd Street up there. But the church he went to and described in his book, and the preacher that motivated him to writing the autobiography was Reverend James, who lived a block and a half from me, whose church I worked at as well as hung out at time I was getting knowledge as well during that time. And he was the same preacher that came to me with the newspaper the day after it was taken when we took the airplane ride with Father. He said, "Hey, look." That's how I knew it was in the New York Times magazine. I mean, newspaper. The picture. But that's the Sunday edition of the New York Times. That time is the one that went around the world. Whereas the regular New York Times newspapers was just dailies. And that's how my first information of getting it. But like I said, Floyd Brown, Man Child in the Promised Land, I met him and his family at that church. I see a lot of people come through. As a young kid, I grew up around and was meeting a lot of so-called celebrity people around that was black people, because my family they was out and about meeting people through their histories, and I guess it carried on with me as well. So when I met the Father and got my lessons, it was a stack of papers, like I said, and I was reading and studying and getting a lot of knowledge and insight. And I was hanging out with this guard, Amar Jahar. I think he's from 119th Street, and I think between Park and Lexington at the time.
Well, let's rewind real quick. I want you to touch your wisdom, like you said, you met the Father, right? You met him
In 1967, when he came home from Mattawan. That's when I met the Father, yes.
What introduced you to him?
Nobody. I introduced myself, actually. You know, because I didn't know him, but I came down, me and the guard Shabu, we came down, we wanted to get the lessons and meet the Father. You know, we had just came home, and, you know, we were around there, we had to just go down there and meet him. So we did that one day, and so I came to 127th, I was standing on the corner. You know, I heard about the hole, you know, they would go downstairs there. And the spot, right. And it was right there, so I didn't go down there, but I stood out on the corner, you know, and I asked somebody, that might have been who Father was always out here, whatever. I think somebody pointed him out to me. And he was approaching me, or I was approaching him, I'm not sure exactly how it went, but I introduced myself, and the brother introduced himself, and we asked him for the lessons.
You asked the Father for lessons?
I asked the Father for the lessons, yes I did. And I told him, well, at the time my name was Qasim. And he said, okay. So we sent Prince in to get the lessons. Firstborn Prince of Law, he came back with the lessons. And then the Father gave me a quarter. And because, you know, the guards, they were just saying that when you go meet the Father, they give you some money. So, you know.
He gave you a quarter.
He gave me a quarter. And I said, okay. I said, thank you. And I left. So it was like maybe, I'm not sure, the rally that was coming up in Mount Morris Park at the time. And that was the second time I seen the Father. Me and Shabu. But we came to the rally. The Father was building. And, you know, the guards and the rest were there. The first 9 born was all lined up over there. we came up the side of the mountain, so like I didn't know I was supposed to be standing with everybody else. So me and the guard Shabu, we stood up there with the first 9 boys. And the father was walking back and forth, looking, and he was building. And then a few minutes later, Messiah came over to me and said that we couldn't stand there, that we could stand over there with the cars and nurse. So, and I thought about that. I said, at first I thought, I felt stupid. I was standing in the wrong place. I said, nah. Years later I realized I was actually just adding on. It was just that simple. It was just a natural thing.
Right.
So, and then it was then after that we had the plane ride. The plane ride came after that.
Right.
You
That
see?
was 1967.
Yes.
Okay. What was the vacancy? Like I said, just to give a little backdrop, I've seen you around for some time now. I came in 1994.
Okay.
Right. So, throughout the years I've seen you up, around and I've actually been on the camera a couple of times as I've seen you, right? But recently when I ran into you, you dropped that sign, something, or that history of you being on a plane right now. This is a famous picture that everybody has seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to give a little backdrop on that. Can you give me the history of that photo?
Well, it started, it started at a law school. We got to a law school. We had to be there this particular Saturday, August 6th, at a certain time because we was taking the trip. I'm not sure if the advertisement at the time was that we was going to, I think it was that we was going to Bear Mountain. I'm not sure if they had mentioned the plane ride as a part of that or not at the time. I really don't recall. Well, I know that I said, well, I'm coming. And I heard we were doing something. So I came to the school. I got there on time. It was time to get on the buses. We got on the buses. The buses drove us to LaGuardia Airport. It was about 4 school buses. We got to LaGuardia Airport. Now, as I came in, we just had seats. So I wanted to seat towards the front because I wanted to see I wanted to see the pilot fly the plane. I'm just curious. I've never been on a plane before. I want to see a cockpit. What's going on here? It's natural to me that I'm saying, wow, I'm sitting on a plane, see this guy fly the plane, take off, blah. So that's why I happen to be in that particular seat. Whereas usually I might get on the bus or something, I sit towards the back. But at this time I wanted to see the takeoff and everything else. But it just so happened that the mayor and the father came on in behind me and sat down, and then I saw the photographer. But I didn't think that, I didn't know he was taking pictures at the time. I knew he was there to take pictures, but I didn't know my picture was taken. That's what I'm saying. That's why it was a surprise to me the next day when the preacher showed me that my picture was on the front page of the New York Times with the mayor and Allah. And I said, wow.
In this picture, this is the picture here.
Yeah.
So which one are you?
This right here.
That's you right there in the front, right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right there.
Okay. Right there, front and center, right in front of.
Yeah. I didn't realize they were standing behind me at that time because they had, because I'm busy. I'm looking, I'm on. I seen them come on, but I'm looking at the pilot over there and the one over there, the navigator, co-pilot, and then I'm looking outside, I'm paying attention. I said, well, we're looking how high we're off the ground, and I'm looking around. It's the first time I'm in the airplane, so I'm just doing me for a few minutes at that point. But it was the plane took off. We flew up around Manhattan. We flew around the metropolitan area here, and then we flew us up to West Point. Flew around West Point for a while, looking around up there, upstate, and all of that. It was nice.
So it was just really just a plane ride to just give the children an experience of being on a plane.
Yes, because the majority of us, that was the first time we ever been on a plane. This is 1967. We poor black kids from Harlem. Yeah, right, take us for a plane ride. you know. So it was great. So we got back to LaGuardia, to the airport, and we got back on the buses. Now the buses is heading us up to Bear Mountain. Great. And we get up there, and like we had a great picnic day. We in there.
It's all within like one day.
All up there in one day. All in one day. We up there in Bear Mountain for a while, most of the afternoon. Got back on the buses, came back to law school, and that was the trip for the day. That was quite an experience, something I'll never forget. I mean, that was my first time on a plane. How can I forget that? And I'm with Allah, higher and higher. A lot of things I didn't, it was just experienced at the time, but as the years go by and I think about my experience, my short experience with the Father and being around the Father and seeing the growth and development of the nation from my point of view and perspective, though checkered, because like I said, I wasn't always around the nation 24/7 like many gods. I was out and about. I'm in and out.
You say out and about.
Out and about means that, well, I'm everywhere. I don't spend a lot of time in one place a lot of times. I'm, a large part of those years to us being a part of the Black Power Revolutionary movement.
Oh, okay.
You see, I gave energies towards revolutionary, black culture in terms of Black Panther Party, Young Lords Party. I made history. I helped the Young Lords Party out in terms of when the Young Lords that took over church here, 111th Street, as part of the Young Lords history. You remember that?
I don't
Well,
remember
you
that.
may not be, but this is in a lot of books. Okay. This is in all the books. I've run across this more than a lot of things. And that night, I tell you, me and some friends of mine, we was the ones who stood security guard behind that door because they had seized the church. That's what it was. We had seized the church. It was a community situation. Also, but we was denouncing oppression, capitalism. We was denouncing police brutality and hunger and poverty in our neighborhoods. These was, revolutionary actions and things that we was taking at that time. And I was a part of that. But I know that I was glad that the police didn't come that night because, if they had came, they would have came to bash our heads in, kill us, and blah, 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 and everything, because we wasn't just regular type. We wasn't just a regular sit-in. They said, the police ideology was all, these are revolutionary people. They talking this revolutionary stuff about hate the police and blah, 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 and they suspected that we was armed heavily with guns and everything behind the door because we was going to defend that stance we had, but we didn't have guns or nothing like that. We just had principles standing up for that which was right.
Principles. Right.
Yeah, yes.
Well, speaking of principles, Allah was is a teaching of the Bible saying that you're not pro-black or anti-white. Now, being that you were a part of those movements, what was your perspective on that particular teaching?
I agree with that teaching. Because, see, in our lessons, it tells us that the question is, well, let's start from the beginning. The second degree. A student Roman says, who's the colored man? And it states in that degree that the colored man is also the Caucasian white man. Yahushua grabbed the devil to planet Earth. So, that comes to what is the devil? In the 33rd degree, Lord Thomas and lesson number 2, that a devil is any man made weak or wicked, or any life grabbed to join from the original. So, taking that into perspective, that means that, any man can be a devil, regardless of what color you are. So it's not always necessary to say the white man is the devil. Although the word devil is a scientific term that means grafted out. The same way that you would take sugar and granulate it to whiteness or anything else that you turn from a darker color to a lighter color.
Other than what it originally is.
Other than what it originally is, based on a process. So based on a process. mentally or physically or spiritually. You see, it's still a process that you go through. There's still a grafting process because you're diluting something. You see, that's a process. You can take something there, and you can take water and just keep adding enough water to it. That process of additives of water and volume over time will dilute it and make it lighter or less potent for what its originality stood for or what it is. So I'm saying this in regard to people, places, and things. With people, the gravitation process is not just a mental thing, it's a physical thing, it's also a spiritual thing. And that the science of life, in terms of what the Father was teaching, is his principle of getting an education. Because education, you get enough education, you get the right education, it's going to bring you to all these factors. Because hate is not who we are.
Right.
God is not hate, God is love. Even adversaries of this nation tell you that. But yet still these are the same principles that we stand on, but they don't see it on us due to lack of their understanding, not ours. You see? So there's a lot of learning that goes on and need to go on between not just us, but everybody else. See, everybody, there's room for growth in everybody, regardless of your color, in order to make knowledge go from 1 to 9, or to make knowledge born, in order that you add on what? The cipher of what? Growth and development, of showing and proving. Which brings us to today's mathematics. We don't teach that God is an invisible entity. We teach that the original man, who is arm, leg, arm, head, is man, which is Allah, which means mind. It's the mind that is God, you see. And of course, the first man on the planet is a reproduction of God, because that's what God do. Any man that walk the planet, that give birth, they always want their first one to be what? Like them, a son. It's natural. It's a natural thing. And when it's natural, that means it's going according with nature. I mean, that's going according with mathematics. You see? This was something that was set forth in the coming of man at the same time, because God brought it all with him at the same time. He didn't have to grow up to be God. He was God when he got here. You see? Man. Okay. There's going to be a lot of different stories from a lot of different places about what I just said, and to each his own, and I respect that. Just don't tread on me, please. I'm the innocent one here. I come in peace. I come in peace. Because proper education always corrects others. You better know it.
Okay, so say you do, after that plane ride. Well, tell me about the atmosphere while you said that was a turbulent time.
Yeah. Well, the atmosphere of the 60s, the late 60s, like I said, it was a turbulent time because people was waking up consciously. Black people was waking up consciously, regardless. A lot of people was going into the Nation of Islam. A lot of people was coming to the Nation of Gods and Earth. He was known as 5% at that time.
And then I said, I was going to build with you about that, because I know you mentioned, your name, and you said that you're part of the Gods and Earths, and there's a lot of controversy about the Gods and Earths versus the 5%, and you coming from the quality cipher years, what is your perspective or your insight on that?
Well, the Father stated that we are his 5%. Now, meaning that he is God, and his 5% is the rest of us. Now, gods that was there said that, I think it was in 1969, just before the Father went back, that the Father said, you're now the nation of gods and earth.
Not everybody agrees on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't there.
Okay. Please.
I wasn't there. So I'm just saying what is said in the nation, and I ain't the only one who heard it. But I'm just giving my perspective based on what I've heard. You know how I draw it up. Yes, you know, when you're a child in this nation, you're a 5%. A 5% is what? It's someone who teaches freedom, justice, and equality to all human families on the planet Earth. You see? They're teaching who the black man is. They're telling people. You see? Just like we was 5% in the street telling people who God is. We said, yeah, Allah is God. Yeah, the black man is God. Now, we're children at the time, but I'm not a child anymore. So growth and development is not just a mental thing, it's also a physical thing. Not just a physical thing, it's also a mental thing. So if I'm going to grow up physically, then it would be proportionate and to show equality with myself to grow up mentally as well with my body. Right? That's what separates a child from an adult. So adult thinking is that this is the nation of gods and earth. You see? And yes, we can relate to the 5%ers as well, because I was a child, I'm a 5%er because 5 is power. 5 represent refinement.
See, guys, you going into these things, and these, and you know,
I understand.
Not to debate with you, or you know, I'm just building and adding on with you. Because some of these things, you know, today's degree dealing with, you know, in the 1 to 40, you know, like we all agree, right?
Yes.
And not all of us agree, right? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you deal with the science of refinement and then, you know, the term nation of gods and earths, you know, so, you know, just to touch on the nation of gods and earths, you know that we teach all human families on planet Earth. So, you know, and including the Caucasian man. So, you know, we're a nation, you know. So, but not all the citizens of the nation are gods and earths, right? So, you know, the term 5% would encompass, you know, more than just gods and earth. Although we are a nation that does consist of gods and earth. So,
yes.
You know, so I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not, you know, disputing you or trying to debate you.
I understand.
Just adding on with you know, but and also with refinement. Now, I'm somebody who got refinement in my mathematics.
Yes.
And did you get refinement in yours?
Definitely.
Okay, you did, and you got yours in what year?
In the 60s.
In the 60s. Okay.
Yeah, the lessons, well, see, that's what I'm saying. You know, a lot of things came out, even back in the day, certain things. The father changed a few things in the lessons itself. But in the process of learning, in the very beginning, when we were just getting bits and pieces, those of us who were just getting bits and pieces of lessons at the time, which was mostly the older gods, because the newer gods that came along in the 70s, they was handed the whole 120, the whole lessons and stuff, because it was more readily available for them. But in the beginning, we was getting it, you know, bits and pieces.
You had to come together to actually get the whole thing.
Yeah, see what everybody got.
Right.
Okay, now see, yes, in the lessons, you know, because I've heard people discrepancy. I've heard some crazy discrepancies. Sometimes it make me laugh, but I say that, you know, as long as people stay in this nation, they're going to grow and develop, and it's going to dawn on them the qualitative state of thinking and drawing up the mathematics from the lowest term to the highest form. Because power and refinement means 5 in our nation, because the refinement is the manifestation of culture.
Okay, now I agree with that, right? So, but culture is the fourth principle, right? Right. So this is where you see a lot of brothers have these disputes, and interestingly, you know, I can't recall any older brothers having that dispute. It's a lot of the younger brothers. Although there is a degree, or there is a writing of Universal Shamgar in the Son of Man where he addresses refinement with the power.
Yeah.
Right. So you know, again, but there are different levels of of understanding.
That's why I mentioned quality, because acknowledging God in terms of quality is like the value. When you value something, you have a quality on it. Like you get us something, you say, oh, this is a 100% quality, and it's real and genuine. Or you say, oh, this is not as going to have a high quality to it, so it has a lesser value. So, the more quality that you have in terms of identifying yourself and being in this nation is the more qualitative state that you're going to have, because it's going to show one way or the other, through your growth and development about how you express yourself. So as how you express yourself, how you represent yourself, by things that you do and say. Because, we say that we're civilized people, So, you show and prove your civility by your actions.
Right. And just to add on, God, I see the purpose of the front. I see it.
Yeah, I see.
Some brothers don't, and
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, it shows.
Yeah. And another thing is that it's not like you said, it's not never about putting people down
Right.
for having a lack of understanding or lack of knowledge or lack of wisdom, because ain't nobody 100% to know everything, but it's about doing the best you can as a person. Some people have better capabilities than others in many different ways. Some people learn fast, some people don't. Some people understand better than other people don't. Some people don't, some people may not never learn, but at least they try. See, I give a lot of credit to anybody that try and really put effort into something. That shows intentions, that shows motives, that shows a degree of righteousness that this possessor had. It may be a little bit, but he letting that shine. See, that's the difference. Because we as a people have to come up. We all come up. I think it was Martin Luther King said, maybe that, they gave the mountain speech. He said, we all may not get there at the same time, but we all going to get there. You see? I mean, like waves on the ocean travel from that shore to the far shore, but all those waves, they all don't get there at the same time, but they all get there. And they start back and go back again. So life is like that. And our nation, we are like that, but we're still here after all this time. It's because of our growth and development as a nation, based on the foundation we have, that we still exist today. Period. Everybody got something to do with that. That's a part of this nation.
So everybody has something to do with that.
Everybody got something to do with that. That manifests and represents a law, nation, that manifests truth, that manifests civility. Even those that have been around us, everybody has learned from us. Everybody's learned from this nation. The beginnings of hip-hop culture.
That's a fact. Yes.
You see, its foundation started with the gods. I have, we all know that most of the rappers, in order to get their rap sounding better, they would use our names, our language, and blah, 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 blah. However, I can share a story with you about the oncoming of that culture. But when I first was getting knowledge of self, I started hanging in the Paterson projects. See, that our sister that went back to the Essence Watisha,
Yes.
that's where I met her.
This is in
1966, 1967, right here in Pelon.
Oh, okay.
Right in Pelon, 143rd, 140th, 3rd Avenue.
Okay.
The 15 bus go by there,
Okay. Please.
over there. Okay. Now, what I'm saying about that, see, in that project, the Paterson projects, I'm going to drop this real quick, in terms of hip-hop and rap. Back in the 60s, 1966, 1967, I was hanging there. I was teaching in there. That's how I taught Watisha, her family, a lot of brothers that was getting knowledge of self. What happened is that, like I said, his brother A. Marjahad, a lot of the young brothers that time, a lot of people that came in the nation that time that had stayed too long, but for a while they was with us, it was a group of us that should go across the bridge every day into the projects and hang out there where we met some of their females. And so a lot of the guys in the project didn't like it. They said, who's these guys? And then they hear our names and they hear what we got to say. Yes, it attracted people, but we was, quoting the lessons and we were manifesting something different from them. So it was attractive to them. So, but at the same time, it caused friction because, they wanted to have a war with the guards up there. And, one day, I remember one day the guards was on this side of the court, sit down, and the project people was on that side of the court. And we was waiting for, a war to start. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. But the thing about it is that, to give all respect due, at that time in the 60s, like if you lived in a Pacific project, if they ain't want you around there, you don't come around there. Because each project had a reputation. And Paterson definitely had a reputation, but they used to fight with other projects, and what they used to do is, their strategy was to try to corner the other project in the back. The back was where all the factories was, and the train tracks and stuff, so those streets was funny. You could get trapped off. But anyway, I learned all that because eventually we was hang out in the projects every day, 24/7, like we lived there, and we had respect. We hung out with them, they hung out with us, and we got, that was my hangout spot for a while, so I became a part of that. Now, in their community center, they had their own, each project at that time had a community center. All projects had a community center. And during the 60s, most of the time, they was active. And this Paterson project, we'd go there every day in the evening time for night center. We dance, play records, hang out, But we had a club, it was about 40 of us, called the Rum Brothers Incorporated. The Rum Brothers Incorporated was named all the Bacardi brothers, named after the drink, Bacardi. But that's what we was drinking. We was teenagers. So we was drinking Bacardi with the Rum Brothers Incorporated, but we had this record out at the time for Motown called Function at the Junction by Shorty Long.
Okay.
It go, get ready for a function at the junction, so people, you better come on now. We got people coming from everywhere, long talks out. You know how it goes. But anyway, we had a rap to that because most of the people still in school, so we had raps about, oh, get that teacher, yeah, who stole the reefer, yeah, who ba, yeah, to the beat of that song. And, it was a whole rap, and everybody knew it, and we could sing it all at the same time. Every time that record would come on, the whole center would be singing that song, and when we go out to other parties and that record come on, we did the same thing. So, and this was back in the 60s, like I said, 1966, 1967, for sure. And rap at that time was really almost becoming a foothold in the Bronx because different people was popping up with different things. But I'm saying that part of the rap game in for sure because the only people that was rapping other than that time was the last poets coming in together, Gil Scott-Heron and other people like that, which was very, very few, you count them on one hand. So that's history.
History on hip-hop.
History on hip-hop. One of the untold stories. This is long before Kool Herc.
It's long before Kool Herc. That's a controversial statement, though.
Well, I'm not trying to create controversy. I'm just saying what I know, and I might be wrong, and I stand to be corrected if I am.
Okay. Well,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Can you give me a little bit of history, your history with some of the firstborns? Like you mentioned that you had, somewhat of a relationship with Messiah.
Actually, I never hung out with them.
Never hung out with them.
The only one I might have hung out with a little bit was, like I said, was Firstborn Prince in later years.
Later years, okay.
Yeah. And the hanging out was like, we wasn't, well, one thing we built, I'll tell you one thing I built with him about, because we don't want to see each other and we speak and, but it was mostly in passing and nothing serious because I wasn't involved with nation business at the time.
At that time, okay.
See, at that time I was involved with the Word is Bond committee that we had in Pelon.
Okay.
See, I was more active that way. You see, because we had a pretty strong cipher. And Firstborn Prince, I approached Firstborn Prince about, oh yeah, that we was giving, that I had, that we were going to do Earth Appreciation Day.
Oh, okay.
Now see, Earth Appreciation Day didn't exist in the nation before that.
So are you saying that you're the one who
Yes, I
introduced
did.
that concept?
Yes, I did.
Appreciation?
Yes, I did. I'm saying that in front of your camera.
Okay.
And can prove it. I can back it up.
Okay. Add on, bro.
This was like maybe 1998, I guess, something like that.
Oh, okay, so Earth Appreciation didn't come into. It's interesting because I came in '94. I didn't hear about that.
Right.
But
No, the first Earth Appreciation Day was in Pelon. On 138th Street, 3rd Avenue, upstairs where we had our weekly Word is Born committee meetings.
So this is 1998.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like I said, interesting. Like I came in '94, so and I didn't hear about Earth Appreciation Day until much later.
Yeah.
I don't recall the actual year when I heard about it. But like you, I wasn't involved with nation business during those years, so I
Yes.
wouldn't be qualified to speak on it. So
Right.
I'm just gonna let you just add on about that. You know?
Yeah. Well, how it happened was actually I had written, you believe it or not, I wrote down Earth Appreciation Day actually about a couple of years before I even presented it to the cipher. Actually, I did. What may have inspired me, well, one thing that inspired me, I have to say, or truthfully say, is that it was about Mother's Day. So I said, see, like in this world, you know, like this country celebrates Mother's Day, Father's Day, all these other holidays. And I said, well, in our nation, we have the show and prove, and we have, you know, we honor the father's birthday with dances and stuff, but, you know, this is a nation of knowledge and wisdom. So what about the wisdom? What about the widow? You know, they say behind every good man is a strong woman, etc. So I said, yeah. So and that's how I got Earth Appreciation Day, because I was thinking along those lines. And then I might have read something that the guard Dumas. Dumas Wade. When he went back to the essence, he had wrote something about things about the nation we should do, structure. It was like a structure for the nation. I can't recall exactly what it was, but it was something in there similar to that, helping me with the idea about Earth Appreciation Day as well. So I said, well, I'm going to do this. So being that, you know, I was a part of the committee in Pelon, and we had something going on up there where we would pay dues every week to build up our money, our chest, to do things that we want to do and help the nation, and different things. So I came and presented it to the cipher. I said, listen, I have this idea here about Earth Appreciation that I want to present to y'all. So I presented it to the cipher, Word is Born committee, with Ramel. Went back to the essence. Raleigh, brother Raleigh was there, you know, that I hang out with the dregs.
It's about short Dawson and Ramel?
Yes. Well, the whole Word is Born committee was there. There was at least 20 of us there at the time. That's why I said I presented it to them, and everybody agreed. You see? So Ramel, because he was more connected with Earth Nation, because he knew everybody, he was able to get everybody together real quick. I mean, like, I was planning for this maybe like a month. He said, yeah, in about 2 weeks we're going to do this. Next I knew we was doing it, just like that. Matter of fact, we did it in the middle of the week, I believe, on a Wednesday, because that's our usually meeting day. Because I remember coming from work, I went home and changed clothes, came back. When I come, I got everybody, the whole nation was there. I said, wow. And I wrote out, you know, about the awards and, you know, the food, you know, making a party, a festive atmosphere, because this is Earth Appreciation Day. Let the females know in the nation that we care, that we love them, that we respect them, and honor what they do, how they have our back, MGT all the way, etc. It was just that simple. And I would like to take it a little further. It was about maybe a week or two after that, that Ramel and the guard Raleigh, like I said, we were standing there.
Raleigh from the Medina or Raleigh?
Raleigh, he live in Connecticut now. Raleigh, you alone.
Oh,
With
okay,
the
okay,
dreads.
okay, okay, okay.
We was standing there building because we were talking about how, we had did this and what, we were thinking about our next moves with the ciphers, stuff like that. We was planning things. And we had came up with the concept, Universal Asiatic Feast Day. You see? Universal Asiatic Feast Day.
Feast Day.
Yes. All three of us came with that idea. Words came out of our mouth, it came together. Universal Asiatic Feast Day. But I didn't want to do it. I said, let's let somebody else do that because if we did that too, I didn't want to overburden us because this is a nation. If you put the right out there for somebody else to do, it's not like one person got to do everything. That's why in the 60s, the guards that came from the 60s, I used to say there's less of a lack of understanding amongst them. It's because of the word equality. You see, there was a sense of the word equality at that time that it was beautiful. And what I'm saying is that that's why I said, this, let somebody else do it. There's other ciphers. There's a lot of people that was here, and I know that wanted to do things. And believe it, and sure enough, about a year, within another year or two, I heard of a cipher in our nation. I saw in the paper, University of Asiatic. That's nice. You see?
Signs of equality.
Yeah. When you put the positiveness out there in the atmosphere, it's going to come back. Positive's going to come back. Because this is a cipher. Nation of God's Earth is a cipher. A man, woman, and children. Man, woman, child. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. What we got to do is keep that going. Based on what we got. Based on what we know. It's only going to grow. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. Better means what? More refinement at a qualitative state. On and on, it becomes infinite. Because this is an infinite nation.
Praise God. I'd like to ask you about the Word is Born Committee. Now, how that, what is the history of it? Because I've heard about that, but I don't know the history. Can you give me the history on that?
Oh, wow. Well, the Word is Born Committee, that's a Pelon committee. And it, like I said, consisted of, most of the guards that was in Pelon coming to that cipher was coming. Now, guards was coming from different boroughs. We had it every week. Guards was coming from Medina. Guards came from Oasis, Mecca, Pelon. And because we had our cipher every week, guaranteed we was there, and we was building. And people came. We had, all the brothers. Was contributing. We all was building. We put a newspaper out with the guard. Let me slow it down. We had another cipher in Pelon at the same time in River Park Towers. That was with the guard Shah Quest and this brother named Ali. They had the young children, the youth over there in River Park Towers, and they would bring them to our classes at times, and these was participants in our class as well. So the idea came up with Shah Quest and Ali that they wanted to do a newspaper called, I believe, The Foresight, and we all contributed an article to the paper, for that rally to raise money. We sold it $2 a piece at the rally. We had about 100 of them made up. They were just paper with stapled together, but we had articles, and it was really good. And they sold out, so that was money for our cipher that we added on with. And my contribution, I wrote about education and the importance of education in our nation, and how we can grow our own, put our own money together, and gave an example of how back in slavery times, how some black people maybe became free slaves and were saving money they made up over a period of years to go spend money to buy people out of slavery, you see. So I was just using that as an example of how we can put our money together to do for self. And those are different things we did in our Words Bond Committee. Whatever. We've contributed to the nation through that, different things. You would have to add certain, I could go down a list of brothers, name names, but most of the guards from Pelon was there. A great amount of them.
So yeah, God, can you add on about, say 1969, June 13, 1969? Do you recall that time period?
Actually, when this happened, I wasn't around.
No?
No, I wasn't around. At the time, when that happened, I wasn't around the cipher. I was somewhere else. I was doing something different. I think some revolutionary work.
Some revolutionary ciphers.
Yes, I was in different revolutionary ciphers, dealing with different peoples, and along the black struggle time. So I wasn't always around the nation, although I had knowledge of self.
Okay.
You see. Now, how I first learned about it, I was coming down on 25th Street and it was written in the street. Stamps they got where they put words in. They said, God is dead. I saw that on 25th Street. That's how I first heard about it. And I said, wow. And I asked, I forgot which guys I spoke to about it, and that was very, it's hard to put into words. It was too hurtful at that time. Because see, this is right after the time of Martin Luther King getting murdered. They was killing off leaders. They was killing off leaders like that. Black leaders, they was killing them all off. So the times was hot. People was, a lot of things was going on. People was going in every direction. Some people was going underground. Some people was moving, getting lost, going in different states to live. People was going to different countries to get away. People was being hunted by FBI, police forces, things like that. Because if you was too outspoken at that time, it was dangerous. See, that's when they first started, taking notice of pictures of who's the talking heads in the community. We got to chop them off, things like that.
So like COINTELPRO.
Yes, this is the time when COINTELPRO was just beginning. You see, and exactly. But that mission failed with our nation because before the father went back to the essence, well, he had delivered that seed, which was the 5%, which that would manifest itself into Allah world manifest as the nation of God's on earth. So that was a failed attempt by the devil on that note. But I wasn't around the nation at that time. Like I said, there was times I would be in and out. There were times I would come around, deal with certain guards I knew, but I wasn't hanging that much. Because as a few years as time went on, because I did get married during that time. I was going through a lot of stuff that way.
You were a young man.
I got married when I was 21 years old. I was a mess. I was looking for my father at the time. My father just went back to the essence, last September. He made 90 years old. He made me 20 years, but at that time, I was, my hands was really full. And it got to the point, later on in the 70s, I got into something. I went away to prison. I was given, I had two federal cases. I had one case, I got 7 years. I had another case, I got 20 years within two month period.
Wow.
So, yeah. And I had to go away and do time.
How much did you do altogether?
Altogether, I did about 8 years altogether.
8 years altogether.
Yeah. Federal, and then I had a state case later on. They only got about 8 years incarceration time. years ago, that was time. That was enough for me. Um, you know, time for change. Um, it's time to be smarter. Smarter depends on individual. That it depends on the individual. Those are big words that could mean a lot of things in a lot of directions. But I ain't been back to prison since, and that's not my intention. I tell you that.
Now, you mentioned about being a part of like these black revolutionary groups, during that time. Interesting. And you also mentioned like COINTELPRO. Besides that, like a lot of these groups, they're not here today. 5% is still here.
Yeah. Well, see, the gods, we always going to be here. The gods always have been. Gods always will be. But as far as, like you said, the other groups, there are a lot of people here. A lot of people are doing things in a better way, a more positive way. When I say positive, meaning that people are doing things without, because they have more knowledge now. They don't have to break the law to get it done necessarily. That's what I'm saying. Because people is always going to survive. No matter what you do, people are going to do what they have to do to survive on the planet Earth. That's the first law of nature, is self-preservation. This is what I know about all people, anybody. The Caucasian people, they do it. They make sure they do it. They got an army to do it, air forces, missiles, jets. Their jets got jets. Their missiles got missiles. So they know about survival. So I'm just saying, in terms of black people, we know about survival even more because we've been here longer. You see? All we have to do is what? Come together and make it happen. Now, maybe that's the problem about black people coming together.
No, that's something that I see that is a problem. That teaching, if you want to see a law come together, a lot of times, you neglect to do that. And you're a witness to that history of getting all the lessons through coming together. And but I see a lot of times, there is a mindset that I see amongst the people, as well as the 5%, some of the 5%, where there's a neglect of coming together. I don't want to come together with you. You got poor knowledge. I'm not gonna come pad on with you, or So that's a very important thing. Is coming together. As
Yes. Well, see, that's a big question. Because that's something that can only be answered, I feel, by the ones who do not, for whatever reason. And it could be a lot of different reasons. And I'm not saying it to try to make excuses. I mean, we have to look at reality.
No. And let's be clear that there are reasons.
There are reasons.
There are reasons to not come together with someone. There are reasons.
Yes, there are reasons not to come together, but at the same time, it's not. Sometimes there's not enough reasons. Some reasons are just excuses. Some people use it as an excuse, and unfortunately, that may fit or it may not fit. I don't know, but I'm just saying this. What's happening with people? Why it's hard to come together? Because we live in a system that separates us.
Yes.
You see,
the devil was born from separation.
Yeah, we live in a system that's bred to just keep us separated. And that system has been proven to be, in most cases, apparently, more stronger than the will that we have as people is coming together. Now, and a lot of it is out of necessity because, the whole system itself, work, education, the food chain, we all live in America, so we depend on the system one way or the other. Unless you have your own land where you grow your own food, you see, or you have your own manufacturing plants where you make your own cars, or your own transportation, or you come together and build enough empire where you can hire, where you have industries where you employ your own people. And if you black people don't have all that going on, then we're relying on the system still. Now, There might be arguments about that. In terms of people say, well, this is ours too. Okay, that could be a great argument that we helped build this country and the slavery and blah, blah, blah. Yes, they do owe us full reparations for kidnap, rape, murder, 663 other atrocious things. I agree with that 100%. But still coming together, it takes a consciousness in the mind of a black person, that certain point of consciousness that you are willing, able, and ready and want to come together to be with other black people because you're coming together with yourself. You see? See, that's the knowledge, that's the power of knowledge. The power of having knowledge. See, that's the refinement of thinking that way. Because that's a qualitative state of being, because now you're talking about equality. See, remember, this is a freedom, justice, and equality. You see, the freedom to act out, you see, in a way that you have a justice or a proven way to manifest yourself in a qualitative state of equality. That's what it means to stand up and represent. That's the meaning of Black Lives Matter. Period. And all of that. That's why, you know, in this nation, it's an endearment that we study. You know, and everybody know that. And a lot of people didn't come around us or be around us. And how many people study? How many people read? You know? You know, it's not, you know, finding time. A lot of people don't find the time to read and study and blah, 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 because you're busy raising families, you're busy trying to make a living. You know. And the last poets, you know, I remember that one of their lines was, the devil keep you doing things so you don't have time to think. You know, so we all have to find a way. We have to sacrifice time to make time.
Sacrifice time, make time. I like that, God.
Yeah. And that's not easy all the time. I struggle too.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not an easy thing, but that's something to consider.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, so after 1969, you know, the nation went through a period of,
Despair.
Were you aware of that since you were away, or?
Yes, I was seeing it. We was all seeing it because the father that went away was a shock to us. You know, it was a shock to us that, you know, we lost our father, our leader. We lost, you know, Allah. You know, he's not with us no more. Somebody murdered him. Yeah, a lot of people started drinking more. A lot of people started using drugs. Or, you know, it's like, you know, when a catastrophe, you know, trauma is something that affects all of us, and we all deal with it different ways. You know, when something, look how many, we just had COVID. Ever since COVID alone a few years ago, look how that bred spousal abuse. All those reports. Look how COVID, you know, the despair that caused such a depression that people's drinking more. Look how more people's using drugs more. People became more isolated from other people in disassociation because of we was locked down. The only people that could truly cope with the lockdown was people that was used to being locked down, that had prison experience. That was nothing new to us. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, that situation alone was a shock to not just the American people, but the whole world. A lot of people wasn't used to this. You know, I'm not used to it. We wasn't used to it, but I'm just saying, this is another thing we had to ride out. But it wasn't, but we rolled it out because, well, we've been riding for 400 years in America. You know, so we rolled that out and we're still here. We lost a lot of people along the way. But it's the blessings of life, the blessings of Allah, and the blessings of self, because life is self, and everything that, you know, we're still here. You know, everything, that's why, you know, like when I say, you know, every day above ground is a good day. That's my motto. And, you know, I see it as a blessing because the promise tomorrow ain't promised to nobody. So, I try to, this is a righteous nation, and that means, you got to be a good person in a righteous way. I'm not saying you have to be perfect or that you is, because nobody is. But do good, and good come back to you. That's what this nation's about. And you do good mostly by getting educated, because that's how you know what is good and what is not good, because you're learning. Either the hard way or if you ain't learned the hard way, you learn the easy way or the soft way, whatever. But you're going to learn.
You're going to learn either way, right?
You're going to learn. I mean, I'm at the degree of, God wisdom. I'm 72 years old. And, as time go by, I was decade here, decade there, decade there. The same thing I thought in the 60s about something, the 80s, I might feel completely different about. Or I might feel the same way, but into a greater degree about it. See, that's why we say, we tell people understanding years is in your 30s. And that's a fact, because see, things come to you more. Like now, I understand even more things that I thought I understood before. I understand better now. So it's always a qualitative state of growth and development in our nation if you use mathematics and stay conscious of self.
Well, you mentioned being righteous, right? And I like your phrase. It's a qualitative state, right? Qualitative state of being part of this nation is being righteous. The interesting thing about that is that see, when I was coming up, I would hear the term or the question, "Are you righteous?" Right? But then somewhere along the line, brothers, really honed more in about you getting knowledge. So it kind of it almost seemed like there was like a separation or a difference. Like brothers is more interested in getting knowledge and sounding good, sounding fly, sounding sweet wisdom.
I understand.
As opposed to being righteous, you know what I'm saying? Which goes into like the God cipher years and the Bill cipher years. The God cipher years, you had brothers who you had the 5% more, from what I was told. Because I was born in the God cipher years, but I don't remember those years. Okay? But I was told that the God cipher years were more about family and unity, right? About coming together, and that's where Show and Proof what was birthed out of the God knowledge years, right? But then the Bill cipher years came, and brothers became street entrepreneurs, and righteousness kind of took a back seat. And the knowledge, people having knowledge, people had knowledge, but they weren't righteous. So I mean, can you give your insight into that side?
Yeah. That's those are trials and tribulations that we go through. What I'm saying is this. See, knowledge teaches you to know. That's what knowledge means, to know. What do you know? That means you know what you want to know. But in terms of righteousness, you learn right from wrong. Now, that's a big thing, because, see, the first law of nature is self-preservation. That means that regardless of what you to survive, you to be here, by any means necessary. See, that's nature. That's the law. That's universal law. So, that's a precedent. Now, a lot of people take that precedent the wrong way. I have done it myself, because I drink when I choose. So I haven't drank in a long time, but occasionally I might drink because I can. If I'm gonna go sit down and drink and hang out, I'll do that. I don't do that every day. I don't do that it's a rare thing. You see? I'm not, unrighteousness is when you're doing wrong things to hurt people, and others. That's wrong. That's not righteous. Being devilishment, deceitful, cunning. In the negative aspect, that's not righteous. You're giving off a bad example of who God is. Because God is good. See, that's the opposite of bad. Righteousness means to live that way and to being the best good person you could be without, because see, holy means something that has not been mixed, diluted, or tampered with. So that don't apply to the black man in America because we are descendants of slaves in America. We have been mixed, diluted, and tampered with. So you think you have it, you better ask somebody. His name is George. Okay? Now, and that's the bottom line, because we all come up in slavery, regardless whether you was there or not. It's still in your genes. See, the thing about black people is that part of your brain that they call a membrane is your skin. They don't teach you that at school. But your skin is part of your brain. I want to repeat that. B-R-A-I-N, that's part of your brain. Because it's part of the rebuilding cells in your body. Now, I got that science from these two doctors. They're white, they're Caucasian. They give seminars on the science of psych. I can't get it right now. But I have the DVD home. It's an absolute fact what I'm talking about. Okay. And that's why somebody asked me about it. I will be able to give you the reference and go check on yourself. Because it's not exactly my words, but I'm repeating because it made sense to me. Just study some science. And, people, see, what we as people, we go to what's more, we lean towards much more relative to us in life. Like some people are artists. So they lean towards more to art. Because see, in teaching somebody, there's many ways to teach somebody. You can teach them through art. You can teach them by the spoken word. You can teach them using a blackboard. You got books. You can walk and teach. You can dance and teach. You see, people just sit around and watch you like this all day and learn. There's so many ways. It's not always about what you say. Sometimes it's about what you do. Sometimes it's about how you show. And that proves a lot. You see? So that's why I'm saying, you carrying yourself in a righteous manner is what people expect from somebody who said they're God. And that's the least we can do.
There's so much history, God, that you got. Is there anything else that you want to add on, God? Some history about this nation that you think is pertinent for young 5%ers and all that?
Oh, for the young gods, definitely, of course. Well, see, the young gods and earths coming in the nation, the new people. When I say new people, I mean the young. Constantly study.
Study is important.
Constantly study. See, no matter where you go or what you do, know your lessons, because if you know your lessons, you know who you are. And as long as you know who you are, you can stand up against anybody. Because the forces and these ciphers out here, these things, they are mighty strong ciphers. They will try to rob you of your knowledge. They will try to trick you into being a non-believer. They will try to feed you swine physically, mentally, spiritually. They will try to get you to change. If you're a young God, a young earth in this nation, well, you're in the right place at the right time and you're where you belong. That's the best thing I can tell you right now. But, the whole thing about this knowledge is that people who want it come forward. We can't make you. We can't force you. It's up to you to pick and choose. That's why those of us that are here is because we chose to be here.
Right.
And that's open for everybody. That's what 5%ers mean. Teachers of the whole entire planet Earth. Because they chose to come learn.
Peace, God.
Peace, God.
I got one more question, God.
No doubt.
Now, I always ask, brothers that I interview, in terms of studying 120, what would you say is your favorite?
My favorite degree. is the knowledge of Greek. Now, who is the original man?
You know, and that's interesting you say that, God. Now, before you get into why, right? My favorite degree at one time was the build degree of the 140. What makes great and so right? Now I like that degree because it sounded so swift and it brought down, you know, the size of the mystery God. You know, instead of the mystery God causing it, the Son of Man causing all it. So I know that was me, and the way that it was expressed in that degree sounded great. But upon studying my lessons, that knowledge degree became my favorite degree. You know what I'm saying? More so because it's simple. You know what I'm saying? But I want to know, tell me why you appreciate that.
Well, other than the fact that everything comes back to the knowledge, that's where everything starts with the knowledge. See, that's my favorite. Well, that's the first thing you learn is who you are. I mean, that's the relevancy of it. Without that degree, none of the other lessons would make sense.
The foundation.
Yeah, that's the foundation degree. That's why it's the first degree. It's my favorite. It's, you know, it says it all. The maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the father of civilization and God of the universe.
Right.
See, that's the degree that was, it raises you up.
Yes.
You see? Take you from the planet into the universe. You know, that's it. Just like that. And that's why it's my favorite because, you know, when you say that people, you know, that's, you set your conversation, you're opening the door for conversation without anything at that point. So, you know, that's what teachers do. You know, what's the start off point? Let's start at the beginning. You know, who's the original man? And, you know, detective, they want to solve a case, they say, well, we got to start at the beginning. You want to read a book? Start at the beginning. Everything you do, you start at the beginning. Coming into life here, you start off at the beginning as a baby. You know? So, that's my favorite degree.
And, you know, all the knowledge degrees are a part of my favorite degree.
Yeah.
You know, all, you know, dealing with, like, you know, who's the living man, why is the devil set on us part of the planet Earth, you know, who made the Bible, how long, you know. So those degrees are, you know, it raises you up. It tells you who you are. You know?
That opens the door for everything. You know.
Peace, God. I appreciate you, God.
Hey, infinite, no doubt. I'm glad.
This is a great, you know, great interview. You added on me, so
thank you.
Appreciate you for sharing that history, God.
I appreciate it.
God, that's a legendary picture, so you know, I'm gonna share that and let everybody know I built with one of the people that were on the.
Yeah.
You know, no, a lot of the brothers from the quality cycle years are no longer here.
Yes, that's true, God.
You know what I'm saying? So to be able to add on with you. It's a significant blessing, God.
Dang, it's a blessing to be here, God. You know, like you said, you know, a lot of us is not here, and we all have our time. I guess it was just my time to be here to tell you this, you know. And I'm glad you asked because, like you said, this is significant because this is nation history. This is not, you know, this is all about history. Because I tell people, I said, you know, like when somebody is asked. A black person, well, what's your history? Like, who's your history actually is your people's history. You know, yes, you're an individual in there, but your people's history is your history. And be careful, and you need to know that because people will try to trick you into believing that you try to separate you from that. So you have to get as much knowledge and consciousness of yourself of being a black man, not a racist man. A black man. It's important because they got this thing called reverse racism. That's another technology thing, man. No such thing. We were the slaves, not you.
Peace, Lord Supreme.
Peace.
Appreciate you, God.
Because we are one, you know. We have to continuously do this, and I have I say I have a lot of love and respect for you for doing what you're doing, all kinds. You see, we need more people archiving. You see, because you know that the other people's work and their job is to wipe us all out. Wipe our history out.
right.
And they will do it if we sit back and let them. So we have to archive, safeguard, um, because in the beginning of this nation, remember, everything was word of mouth. It may come back to that.
Right.
You see, that's why we quote lessons. That's why we memorize. See, the quoting lessons also an exercise of memory building. You see, because you ask the average black person, what they memorize. The most thing they memorize more than anything is songs. The kids out here doing rap records galore, but they can't quote lessons. Why aren't they quoting lessons if they can quote rap songs galore? That's the question I want to know. That comes back to us too.
This is our oral tradition, the lessons.
Yeah.
Like you said, it might just go back to it being oral. You know what I mean? And that's important to having it on cat as opposed to just having it on a piece of paper. Because a piece of paper can get lost.
Yeah.
Then you be lost if you don't have
Exactly. And because see, like back in the day, in the penitentiaries, the police used to take the guards' lessons, and the guards would be memorizing, walking up and down the tier, quoting lessons, like they were the guards. They did that too. Of course, they did that to like try to mess with you and jig and stuff like that too. But I'm just saying, white people know these lessons. They got all the lessons because they've been confiscating them for years from guards in the prisons, and so they got them. I remember when I went to rehab years ago, back in the 80s. When I first came in, I had to go upstairs. Well, I was upstairs taking a shower, and two of the clients that was honored to me had to, searching my property and stuff. One of them, I took my lessons down to the office, and by the time I was out the shower drying off, I'm saying, "Where's my lessons?" I had the guy take me out to the office, and when I went through the door, it was the 4 people that was in charge. All of them was trying to read them at the same time. Okay. So I'm saying, we have something, and these lessons is a powerful power. It's knowledge is power. I'm telling you. You don't necessarily take it literally for what it is. You science it up.
Science it up. That's important. See, a lot of
you
people
science this up. You see? Don't get caught up in the characters as much at all, or the conversation. Is you science this up. You got the mathematics, the ability to draw things up from the lowest term to the highest form. You use that, and that's what saves you. Peace.
God, you keep yourself preserved, God. What's your degree, God?
God wisdom.
God wisdom.
And a half.
God wisdom and a half. That's 72 for those who don't know. So I think, you keep yourself preserved.
Yeah,
God.
thank you, yeah. Yeah, I try to take care of myself these days. I mean, look, I've been through a lot. I used drugs most of my life, alcohol, still smoke weed as much as I can. But I try to, I don't eat as good as I should, but I don't eat no pork and whatnot. And I take care of myself. I'm fortunate that I come from a very big family, like I said. I'm now I'm the what they call it,
Elder of the family?
I'm the elder of my family, yes. Of the males, and I'm the oldest cousin on both sides. I got a big family on both sides, and I'm still the oldest male and the oldest cousin. So I got about, altogether I got like 100 nieces and nephews. So.
Well, God, keep building, God.
I just go on and on, man. I mean, like I'm thankful for my life. I have a lot to be thankful for because the blessings that I'm still here, but I have so much in terms of I have people, I have family, I have friends that are friends, good associates. Some of my people that's been friends with me for 30, 40, 50 years that's still here, and the new people too. But I'm just saying, ain't nothing like the tried and true. Ain't nothing like the tried and true. I could go on with part 2 of this. Could be
we do this
another time because if I run down the list of celebrityisms and all this kind of stories, so that's altogether another chapter.
Right.
And we'll be building, God. And I'm going to thank you for coming out.
Yeah, peace, God. I appreciate you, God.
All right. We good.
There you go. That was
If Mega did this.